What's up, everybody? This is Danny Thompson with Beyond the Buzzer for July 9th, 2020. And we're live here on Zingo Television, channel 198, Facebook Live, and everywhere you can hear the sound of mine. And to the man to the right of me, the student of the game, Mr. Kyle Nash. How you doing, sir?
Hey, what's going on, Danny? Good to have you. Hey, that looks a little bit more like a falcon color than a kitten color. But after all, I'm forced to remind you, though, my friend, that falcons may be predators, but cats also eat birds. It's just a whole circle of life thing with you and your teams, man.
The only bad part is that the Carolina Panthers are 18-32 against the Falcons.
Hey, listen, all I know is the Saints are still winning the division, so it doesn't matter. Anyway.
But as long as the Falcons make the wild card at the 7th spot in the wild card, that's the most important thing.
I mean, Tom Brady may be stopping that, but we'll get into that later.
Listen, 7th seed. That's all care about, the 7th seed in the playoffs. But for those who've never watched the show, this is Beyond the Buzzer. And for the next 1 hour, myself and Mr. Nash to the right of me, we'll talk about anything and everything, all sports, and also throw a little curveballs in there. So before we get started, also check out our good friends. Even though I'm not in Orlando, but Kyle is, our good friends at Mentality Barbershop at 2611 Pine Hills Road out in Orlando, Florida. My main man, Corey Lamar, Donald J, Lisa, and the entire crew over there. And check out Corey's show on 98.5 The Wire every Saturday from 7 to 11 in the morning time. And also big shout outs to our good friends at Valor, as you see in the top right-hand corner above Kyle. Also, Valor Music, which is at It's Valor, which is its.valor.us. And let's get into it, Kyle, because they're bringing up tonight's big topic of what's the buzz. And guess what? Being in Orlando, something happened yesterday that we normally don't get happening. Orlando City wins the game. Yes. In the new battle between them and Inter Miami, which is the team that's owned by David Beckham, which took about 85 years to actually come into full effect because they could never get it straight in Miami. Miami's, for some reason, never gets anything right. Orlando City wins the first game in the MLS's back cup. Great. They were down 1-0. They gave up the first goal. Got 2 goals in the second half. Nani was the man of the match with a goal, the game-winning goal in the 90th plus 7 minutes. So it's the 97th minute of the game.
The golden goal comes in minute 97.
The 97th minute, which is ironically the second latest goal for a win for Orlando City in his team's history. Kaká scored in the 100th minute of a regular season game back in, I think it's 2000. I want to say it was 2018.
Yeah, typically, that's when Orlando City gives up a goal. But hey, I don't think anybody's complaining that that's not the case here.
Hey, listen, it was great. Orlando City won. They won their first game in the tournament. But then there was supposed to be a second part of the doubleheader. And guess what? And guess who won that game, Kyle?
Corona?
COVID wins again. Why? FC Nashville FC, wherever you want to. The team from Nashville had 5 players hit with coronavirus and had to pull out of the tournament after the team was delayed. So once again, COVID wins again. Now Nashville's out of the tournament and not being able to leave, which now leaves 2 teams out of the MLS bracket going into, and they have to reshift schedules all over again. Once again, COVID strikes again, and COVID doesn't do well. But it doesn't take away the fact that Orlando City wins the game. Mm-hmm. Now, mind you, Orlando City's been in MLS since the last 5 years, and not had even won a playoff game. So for them to win with no fans, I'm excited. Go Orlando City.
I mean, it's a good first step for the club. And from what I hear, they're supposed to be playing the Revolution next out of Philadelphia. Excuse me. I said Philadelphia. Yeah, so there you go. I know that'll be replaced their Nashville bout from what I heard. So there you go.
Listen, but the one thing interesting, Kyle, was I woke up this morning to MLS at 9 o'clock in the morning, and I don't mean it was a replay. New York and Philadelphia decided to play a game at 9 o'clock in the morning. And you're wondering why 9 o'clock in the morning. For those who don't live in Florida, 9 o'clock in the morning is a good time for soccer. And I'll tell you why. Kickoff time this morning was 85 degrees. It felt like 100 on the field.
Humidity was a thing, folks.
It's 9 o'clock in the morning, and you wonder why they're not playing during the day? If you watch the game today, they had 3 breaks for water.
Hydration is the thing, yes.
So for those who are saying, okay, why are they stopping in the middle of the day? You go outside and run for 90 minutes at 9 o'clock in the morning in Florida, and you let me know how it turns out.
Exactly.
All right. In other news today, like I said, we wanted to start off with soccer because Orlando City won something. I'm in a great mood.
This is live sports, something we haven't
And
had.
it's live sports. Now, mind you, this whole thing is one of those things where it's not looking good. And I'll tell you why it's not looking good, because if you have two teams that are already knocked out of an MLS tournament, you also have a bunch of players that are just showing up from, I don't know, some league called the NBA. NBA players start showing up on Tuesday, with the first team being the Orlando Magic. Listen, I'm not understanding why they showed up to the bubble so early, because literally they only drove 20 minutes. And yes, Randy, 81% humidity they announced today. Listen, if you watch the game, you can see the camera smoking. That's how hot it was outside.
I mean, that number is high enough. It's not money, but I'm going to do it. 81% humidity. There you go.
Hashtag disrespectful. All right. The NBA players are finally arriving to Orlando. There's been some good, interesting storylines with the NBA players arriving to Orlando. First off, if you go to Troy Daniels' Instagram page, you saw the food that the players were getting the first 2 days of this entire debacle. And I'm saying this is debacle because grown men with trays of food that looked like it came from the cafeteria of any of Orlando's wonderful high schools is a problem. The best quote of the day came from Isaiah Thomas, who's not playing, and the question was, will LeBron James eat this? These guys literally had nothing but packed foods, and it looked like a tray table. It looked like a complete tray table of goodies that came from everywhere. Don't ask. Now, teams are showing up, but the problem is star players are not showing up. Kyle, what do you mean? Well, the Houston Rockets have arrived in Orlando today without James Harden and without Russell Westbrook.
Oh, my.
Word is they'll be reporting later on this week.
Did they stop off at like Whataburger or something?
Listen, I don't know. They might have stopped off Whataburger. Who knows? Kawhi Leonard is not with the team as well, too. When the Clippers arrived yesterday due to airline food. I would call it something else, but I'm not going to. This is a family-friendly show.
Oh, boy.
But Kawhi Leonard is not showing up with the team because of issues with a family concern, the same way with Markelle Fultz and Orlando Magic. Mm-hmm. They're not here either. Nikola Jokic is trying to recover from COVID and will join the team later on this week. In other news, the Brooklyn Nets are still replacing players because now they're down even more players.
Yeah.
The Brooklyn Nets have now they've signed Jamal Crawford, Michael Beasley, and Dante Hall today. Kyle, in other words, me and you should be getting tryouts the next day or so.
I mean, listen, the only reason why I haven't is because I think the missus caught wind that COVID-19 is still a thing that's being caught by certain NBA players, right? Now, listen, I mean, I like, you got to give credit to the Nets front office for scrambling and at least finding competent guys, but you're not going to be able to pose a legitimate threat. That's a tough ask.
Well, here's the best thing about it. The Washington Wizards had everything going for them. The Nets were losing players, and they just need to get to the 4th spot. Well, Bradley Beal's now out. His shoulder injury will not allow him to come to Orlando, which means him, Davis Bertans, and John Wall will not be playing. In layman's terms, the Washington Wizards should just pack it up and not come to Orlando anyway. All right, another news around the league. LeBron James and the Lakers will be there sometime today or tomorrow. This should get interesting because the food should get better.
I can't help but laugh at the fact that the first place people go is, would LeBron eat this? It's starting to sound like a really bad YouTube series. Will LeBron eat this? You know.
Exactly.
If they could make a video about blending things, anyways.
They were feeding the players like wraps and stuff like that. Like, these are you're telling me all the stuff that you have at Disney, all these resorts, you're giving them containers of strawberries? I'm not understanding this. It looked, Kyle, it looked like prison food. It like it just came directly from the cafeteria of any local high school in Orlando. And not to mention, not saying it's nothing bad, or any local high school anywhere. You got NBA players eating out of trays. And it is not hotel food. And to Bobby's case, it's worse than airplane food. All right. So what's going on with the NBA is the players will be there within the next couple of days. They're still going through the quarantine process. Star players are still not there. We're hoping this turns out well, because otherwise, this is going to be a grade A disaster. But we get basketball starting July 22nd. Now, the word is the scrimmage games that each team will be playing, if we get to this part, are not televised. So these would be glorified scrimmages that nobody will be watching, which is great. Because if you watch preseason basketball and know how bad it is, it's going to be on this level.
They're doing you a favor.
They're doing everybody a visual favor. Okay. It can be really bad, the situation. In other news in the NBA, there's also talk of the teams who are not in Orlando all getting together at a neutral site and actually playing games. Why? I'm not really, as much as I'm a Charlotte Hornets fan, I am not interested in watching the Charlotte Hornets and Minnesota Timberwolves play some meaningless basketball game, which makes absolutely no sense to me. Sorry. This isn't Summer League. This is not even rookies that have a chance to make the team. You're asking guys that ain't played basketball since March to actually play meaningless basketball games that do absolutely nothing. Just stay at home at this point. All right. Speaking of staying at home, college football. Let's turn to college football. Kyle, the sport that you love, that you have an affinity in your heart for, is going through some changes. It started with the Ivy League yesterday by saying they're only going to play conference-only games in 2021.
Well, and with the Ivy League, I believe they canceled all of fall sports.
They've canceled all fall sports and say if we're going to get college football, it'll be next spring. In my opinion,
yes.
Thank you very much. The Big Ten, on the other hand, has decided that they're going to play conference-only games this season. Why? Kyle? I'm going to let you take this one, Kyle.
Well, no, I mean, so the concept is that there's less travel if you keep it within your conference. That really depends on the conference. In the case of the Big Ten, except for recent additions, I can argue that that's probably true. The reason why it bothers me less with the Big Ten, for example, is these are guys that are still trying to find a way to get tape to try to go in the NFL, or they got a scholarship that they want to be able to hold on to so they could still afford classes. I don't know how it works in this kind of a situation when you're supposed to be playing a sport and that sport isn't operating. Like, do you still have a scholarship? I don't know how that works. Moreover, the athletic department still want to be able to afford to, operate. Less of a problem for the conferences and things like that. The Power Fives anyway. I would not hold. I would not have the game as myself. These are college games. They're supposed to be amateur, all that. But here's the other thing too. I mean, are the guys wanting to play? I've not heard that angle either as to whether or not the players want to be in there themselves. So I have no view on that. But something I always want to happen is Precious for us to check in with us. How you doing, Carl? Anyway, so yeah, I mean, with the Big Ten, it's a way to kind of minimize the pain somehow, but I don't think it solves for it. Man, I don't know. All I could say is this really more.
Cash grab?
Sure. No, that's essentially what I'm saying, right? And granted, we could say what we want about how big these programs are, Danny. We're looking at Stanford cutting large portions of their sports program, and they're a Power 5 school. It's a tough situation. The safe thing, obviously, would be to cancel it, but I don't know enough about these individual situations to know how much it is to try to keep the programs alive, how much it is greed. I don't have those numbers in front of me, but I mean, I don't think anybody's wrong to think that greed's in play here, right?
Here's the question I have with schools like Stanford and Cincinnati, or I'm gonna say Stanford,
right?
Canceling programs. They just got a humongous donation from their board of trustees.
Mm-hmm.
They got a humongous one, a big one. With all that money coming in, here's my question: why are these sports being cut? Because if you have a board of trustees and a DAO that is, I think, in the billions that you're receiving, well, why are these sports being cut? I don't understand that.
I think there's a lot of fear in what they don't know yet, right? We still haven't seen all the economical impact of what's going to happen. I mean, there are some numbers that say as many as half of the country is out of work, essentially, be it on furlough or whatever you want to call it. I want to get too deep into the demographics or any of that. But to say the least, there's a lot of things that are uncertain upcoming, and I think that's the concern, right? A lot of the injections of cash that they would expect to get from the conference, they may not get. The injection of cash they may have expected to make a bowl game, they're not going to get probably, right? There's a lot of things that are at risk that they normally wouldn't. And when you say large endowment, that's fine, but no one got rich cutting checks, and nobody got rich losing them either. So I hear where you're coming from, but again, without the balance sheet in front of me, I can't really answer your question. But those are some other possibilities, right? This endowment that, or not endowment, I'm sorry, this injection of cash that you're talking about that they got from the board of trustees, and again, this is a richer school, air quotes, richer school, right? Mm-hmm. This is a situation where there's still so many unknowns, and they're really trying. I feel like that injection is to make sure they can stay on budget and not cut too many other essential things for the school. Granted, I'm speaking best case scenario. There may be some other stuff at play that I'm not aware of. I got nothing there. I can't think of any other logical reason though it would happen, right?
Of course, it's just one of those things that just seems kind of interesting while they're doing this. And speaking of conference only games, Kyle, there's one school that doesn't have a conference. So if everybody's going to conference only games, what happens to Notre Dame?
Well, even without Notre Dame, they're technically a member of the ACC during the football season, so they're kind of accounted for. I'm wondering about UMass or somebody like that who's an actual independent school.
Does Notre Dame play enough ACC schools to be considered a conference situation, though?
No, but the commissioner of the ACC's come out and said earlier on that the conference would try to accommodate bringing Notre Dame in to replace non-conference opponents so they can both benefit from filling gaps, right? So just as an example, as a side note too, with the ACC being added to the list of conference-only schedules, right, that essentially makes UCF, just UCF, not the American, UCF, a conference-only situation now too, because the Power 5 schools they were playing were UNC and Georgia Tech. Now, I know they got FAMU on the schedule, but just keep with me here.
Okay, I'm listening.
If let's say that Notre Dame, check that. Let's say that North Carolina needs to make up that UCF game. Well, now they can invite Notre Dame in to replace one of their out of conference matchups, right? Like let's say USC or Michigan or whoever, right? So that'd be one way to do it. Or of course, granted, I don't know. Would Michigan, here's the way you discuss whether or not, Danny Thompson, that the Big Ten is great or not. Does Michigan still play Notre Dame? That's technically out of conference, right? So, thank you for the air quotes. Well played. So, but the commissioner of the ACC has stated that they're going to do what they can to fill the gap for Notre Dame.
AKA they need Notre Dame's TV money. Gotcha. All right.
The ACC doesn't see much of that for the record.
Listen, everybody needs a check where they can get it right now. Like you said, everybody's funding. If it's $50, it's $50. $50 is $50 nowadays anyway.
Well, yeah, and let me build on your Stanford point that you were making with the endowment of money or the injection of cash. UCF, I just got a press release from them today about the fact that they've had a record-breaking fundraising year. Okay, does that mean UCF's fitting to pop them champagne corks? I don't think so. So I think, credit to the supporting bodies for coming up big in a time of need for these programs and these schools to keep them not floating just as football teams, but as academic institutions as well. But far from out of the woods, my good friend.
I mean, and the part that's so scary is that you look at North Carolina, being in North Carolina now. The Tar Heels had 37 cases of COVID last week between their athletes. They had to shut down. You see these, like you said, these cases of COVID just going everywhere. Maybe, remember, the Ivy League was the first conference to shut things down basketball last year when this thing broke out.
Correct.
Listen, I'm all for what the Ivy League is doing because the CIAA, which is one of the premier historically black conferences in the country, in this part of the woods, North Carolina, schools across this area, they shut down all their fall sports. So everything is technically going to the winter. Listen, I'm all for spring football. If I'm getting college football in the spring, I'm all for it. The kids will still have enough time to actually get themselves in more playing shape and be more prepared for the NFL Combine if we start a season, let's just say in February. We do conference only. Started season in February, March. These guys will be ready. These guys will be in tip-top shape for the combine. Now there is some risk. Guys could get hurt,
Right.
but you can get hurt in the game in November and not come back anyway. So it's not much of a difference to me. For me, it's just that guys will be way more prepared for the NFL, and then the footage is right new. You don't have to say, you know what, Kyle? I watched Kyle Nash play that. He played that last game back in November. How is he going to look now? No, I saw Kyle Nash play 4 weeks ago against Memphis School of the Barbecue, and he just obliterated their defensive line by pancakes everywhere.
Sounds like I would be attending the Memphis School of the Barbecue, but okay.
Hey, listen, you barbecued the defensive ends. There we go.
Oh,
but appreciate it, Jarvis. Facts. Exactly. I just think that these guys will be more prepared for the NFL by playing later. Now, here's another thing, Kyle. What happens if spring football works? Do they start playing football year round in the spring?
I'm not prepared to say year round, but it's very interesting. Does college football begin to adopt a schedule similar to, let's say, like you've seen in the NFL Europe or the AAFL or the XFL, that kind of a thing? I don't know. It's an interesting concept. The reason why I don't think that'll change all that much is because there's too many traditions and staples, frankly. Like if they're starting in the spring, New Year's Day, New Year's Eve, all that's gone. I don't think the college football fans are ready for that.
Hey, listen, what happens if you don't start the season on New Year's Eve? Maybe get some of these kickoff classic games. We can bring back the kickoff classic. There we go. You start having these Georgia Clemson games early in the season, the early season games that we've earmarked on our calendar. We can start having those games on January 1st. The same way we talked about the NBA starting on Christmas Day as an idea, because that's been the NBA, the time where people actually pay attention to the NBA, not in October when the season actually starts. What about earmarking college football for January 1st?
That's not a bad concept if you look at just at the scheduling and just at the sport. But meanwhile, this is still tied to school, right? So you got to think about the academic schedule. How does that impact reporting? When would school actually start? How much early would the players get there? How does that impact other things? I don't know.
If the players are already in school already, they're starting their season at the end of the semester. I know.
Oh, right.
But of course, it's logistics to work out. But if you have successful spring football, which everybody has been trying to do for years, whether it be college, whether it be the AAF, whether it be the XFL, it's all been about trying to establish spring football. Why not? Give it a shot. Listen, you'll have the whole country paying attention. I guarantee you, on Saturdays, nothing against the NBA, but I promise you, if college football had only Saturdays to worry about with no NFL on Sundays, listen, Kyle, you can play NFL, you can play college games on Sundays.
You beat me to it. That's what's going to happen is they're going to actually fill both days, Saturday and Sunday, with games. And the reason why that's good is it gives more small schools the spotlight. I get that concept.
But also at the same time, you don't have to load so many games in one day.
Right.
You have so many matchups. Like, man, I got this matchup, this matchup, this. You're like squirrel. You can't figure out some Saturdays what to watch.
All I'm saying is you may actually see an uptick in springtime divorce if that happens. I'll throw that out there because entire weekends being thrown on football will make for an unhappy significant other if they aren't a fan. I'm just saying, Danny Thompson.
All I'm saying is it might be some better attended bowl games because nobody wants to go to Detroit in December.
No, hey, listen. I didn't want to go on December 23rd at 2:30 on a Monday to watch a bowl game, and I was here in Florida.
Well, that's because Tropicana is Tropicana.
That's a whole other conversation. I'm just trying to tell you that the location doesn't mean they couldn't have that thing on like at least at night. I mean, come on. Anyways,
listen, that's what happens when you put college bowl games on a Tuesday afternoon on I-4 traffic.
Monday, son.
Even worse. I was trying to make him feel better. Speaking of feeling better, let's talk NFL.
Wow. That's a big way, folks.
Hey, listen. It's feeling good about the NFL right now because right now some of the things going on in the NFL is not exactly feel good stories. One of the most my favorite traditions of the NFL on post games, and Kyle, I think you know this is too, is the jersey swap. End of game, players who are best of friends, rookies, and guys retired. Jersey swaps has been a thing. Well, because of COVID, which once again, jersey swaps are now banned going forward, and players can't really shake hands at the end of games now. One of the favorite traditions is not allowed to happen anymore, of course, because you just don't want the risk of anything going on. So the jersey swaps at the end of games will not happen, but I guarantee you the cost of UPS will go up.
Hey, I appreciate all that. And by the way, I mean, I believe the jersey swap is a football tradition originally, not a football one, but details. I mean, I know there are people crying, oh, but they've been blocking and tackling all game. What does the jersey matter? It's a little different when you're wearing another guy's fluids like right on you. They're sweating their off.
Or just even carrying it around.
Yeah, and like directly applied to your skin. No, that is a bit more risky. I'm sorry, that's just the fact of the matter. But I mean, I'll put it this way: every little bit you can do to increase the chances of safety is a good thing to do here. If players are choosing to do this, doing little things like this to protect them makes sense. And like you said, at the end of the day, I would have no problem going to my closet and jersey swapping, my Nash Rage jersey with whoever. Now, granted, nobody would want mine, but that's not the point, Danny Thompson.
It's a throwback, sir. It's a throwback. What are you talking about? Now, on top of that, some other things that might be going around the NFL that's been changing is, well, the Washington Redskins have not had a good week this week. The fact that the Washington Redskins have been basically asked by so many people, including Native Americans, Amazon, Nike, and all their sponsors, potential owners of the team, and pretty much anybody in the Washington, D.C. area for a name change. All right. Yes, the Washington Redskins have been around since before I was even thought about. I understand. But to me, in this day and age, if it is offensive to a group of people, doesn't matter who it is. If it's considered offensive, it's got to go. Sorry. Listen, we can go about this all the way on. I'm gonna let Kyle get his thoughts on it. It's just that if it's offensive to a group of people, then it's offensive. The name has to go. It is what it is. To me, it is what it is. I understand its history. I understand it's part of the National Football League. The Redskins have been around. It's a staple of football. But listen, they've been calling for the Redskins name to change, the Cleveland Indians name to change, the Atlanta Braves name to change, anything involving Native Americans. They've been asking for it to change for years. Listen, if there's no better time than the present, because if Amazon's not selling your stuff, Nike ain't selling your stuff, and you got 40% of your ownership group saying, you know what, I'm going home and taking my ball and go home with this one, you might want to listen. Kyle, what are your thoughts about the Redskins and the name change?
No, and I follow that sentiment. I mean, the only question I have about whether or not it's offensive is asking tribes themselves. And really, when the polls come out, it's really within the Native American population itself, it's really kind of a 50-50 situation. Now, the conversation becomes, if part of the population is still offended, should it still go and all that? I mean, we could go down that rabbit hole. I don't really think let's put it this way. I don't think there's a wrong answer in changing it, and doing so now benefits you more than it ever could before, right? And let's just say without the current climate and the way things are going, changing it is an actual risky proposition. But I think you heard me allude to this before, and I'm sorry, Danny Thompson, I'm going to push for this, and I'm going to push for this hard because I think it's an actual good name change, and it's something that I think you could take an opportunity to not only throw out a socially positive message, but hey, let's call it what it is. You could turn a buck doing it. I mean, everybody should walk away from this happy if they change it to the DC or the Washington Red Tails, right? As a commemoration of the Tuskegee Airmen, it certainly speaks to everything that's going on. If the BLM have a problem with the name that supports the Tuskegee Airmen, they need to rethink themselves, in my opinion. I don't think they do, though, so this is a problem. The logos that I've seen, bro, a fighter jet from World War II on a helmet, bleep, yeah, son, that's a cool logo. I love it. The Red Tails, you at least have the origin. It's not a too big of a transition. You could basically keep the team colors. Everything's smooth. And oh, by the way, if it has the upside and the actual best case scenario, because it's socially, thoughtful towards historical things involving people of color, there may be non-football fans that jump on the boat as well. Maybe they will, maybe they won't, but that's there. I mean, I don't. If if you want this out of your hand, Dan Snyder, you need to do it now, and it needs to be the Red Tails. Maybe you'll have a copyright problem. Bleep it. Pay them. Get the name, lock that down. You'll win socially. Your fans will be happy. You'll win the PR battle, and you'll probably turn some bucks doing it. I'm just throwing it out there.
The Redskins might sell a game out for once. But
whoa. Slow down, Danny Thompson. I didn't say anything drastic like that.
I mean, listen, there's more red seats in that stadium than actually Redskin fans. Ooh. Other ideas I can think of. I mean, if you go back to take the XFL name, the DC Defenders. I think in the entire city of DC, in the Washington area, all the teams have something to do with something involving politics or the government. Washington Nationals. You have the Washington Capitals. You have the Washington Wizards. That's no more than a story for another team.
They used to be the Bullets. Okay, that doesn't fit either. But whatever.
It kind of all right. You have DC United. Okay, it's a shield. I think at this point, I mean, like you said, the Red Tails is a great name. The DC Red Tails, Washington Red Tails, wherever you decide to do it, great name. The NFL has talked about maybe people talk about the Washington Warriors. Listen, by their actions on the field, they haven't warriored anything. Okay, the Ultimate Warrior would be very upset with if they decide. God, rest in peace, Ultimate Warrior. He'd be upset with the team then because of the way they've been playing over the years. I think, like I said, even if you have to, like you said, cut a check, the Washington Generals. The Washington Generals haven't beaten the Harlem Globetrotters anyway. The Redskins haven't won that many games. It's perfect. Take the name.
They did say that they'd be willing to sell the name publicly. They did release that. So
hey, the Washington Generals won like 2 games potentially total. What I'm saying is, Washington. In the case of Washington, maybe a name change might change the fortune of the franchise. You know, sometimes it could be a simple name change. You know, you got to get the city of you got to get the DC and the surrounding areas, the DMV, which is DC. Those of the Washington DC, Maryland, Virginia area. You got to get them excited. You know, you're trying to potentially get a new stadium, which it is. It's football, is what it is. But you got to draw interest. Yes, people are going to be upset with the name change of the Redskins. Oh, there's going to be some backlash. To your point, Kyle, there's going to be some backlash.
Sure.
Fans are going to leave because fans are so used to what it is. It is what it is. If you don't like it, what can I do about it? What I'm saying is, if you have so many different people around there, the Defenders is one name. I like, you know, as I'm thinking about it, I think you go with something that's like the Washington Americans, maybe.
I've heard that. That's my second favorite one, actually. Yeah.
Washington Americans, like you just do something patriotic. It's the city of DC. The Washington, I was going to say the Eagles, but that's up in Philadelphia.
Yeah,
you know that too. The Washington Bald Eagles. I don't know. I don't get paid money for marketing departments to do all that, but it is what it is. But our good friends at ESPN came out with an article today talking about the top 10 running backs in the league in the NFL going into the 2020 season. Now, Kyle and I we're going to post the list in a second, but we're going to give our take of, do we agree with this list? Now, are we going to give our top 10? Maybe not tonight. I might give mine. Kyle might give his. We're going to look at the list of the 10, and then we're going to see, first off, do we agree with this first? And then 2, we'll dissect it for a couple of minutes. So, Bobby, go ahead and put that top 10 list up.
Drum roll, please.
Interesting. All right.
I need Kyle to put it back up.
Oh.
All right, Kyle, go ahead and put it back up.
All right.
The lovely facts of live television.
the facts. You said the facts of life, or facts of live. I thought you said the facts of life. And I almost started humming a theme song.
Exactly. So, as Bobby puts the list up, we're gonna look at the list. So, at number 1, Saquon Barkley of the New York Giants. Number 2 is Christian McCaffrey of the Carolina Kittens. Ezekiel Elliott, number 3 of the Dallas Cowboys. Alvin Kamara from that team from Louisiana. Derrick Henry from the Tennessee Titans. Dalvin Cook from the New Orleans Minnesota Vikings are at 6. Nick Chubb at 7. Joe Mixon at 8. Josh Jacobs at 9. And Le'Veon Bell is 10. All right, Kyle. Do you agree, first off, with the 10 players they chose on this list?
You know, just from the cuff, they could have done worse. The only one I'd really question is Josh Jacobs. And okay. I don't know that Nick Chubb should be 7. I'm not sure about putting him ahead of Le'Veon Bell, but other than that, they could have done a lot worse, is what I'll respond with to lead with. What about you, Danny?
All right, so here's my concerns with this. Number one, Josh Jacobs should not be on this list in the first place.
Mhm.
He had one season of 1,000 yards, a little bit more 1,000 yards, like 1,100 yards, led all rookies in rushing. Great. It's only been one season. Okay, adios. Joe Mixon, man, Joe Mixon took a beating last year, and I'm only going to say this because I had him in fantasy football last year. Joe Mixon was beat down, beat up, and dragged around the field last year. He was supposed to be Christian McCaffrey, but the problem was they beat him like he was Ed McCaffrey last season. All right.
What on earth?
Here's the other problem I have. Derrick Henry has ran through, and ran past all these defensive ends and defensive linemen over the last 2 seasons. He's behind Alvin Kamara, who was injured last year, and Ezekiel Elliott, who was injured the season before that. So, and Saquon Barkley was number 1. So my top 5, I'm going to go top 5.
Yep.
I would have had McCaffrey at 1.
Yep, me too.
Derrick Henry at number 2.
No.
Okay. I have Saquon Barkley at 3, Ezekiel Elliott 4. Give me Nick Chubb at 5.
No, ahead of Dalvin Cook, you're out of your gourd.
Listen, it was a toss up between Cook and Chubb, but Chubb had almost 1,500 yards last year.
Man,
okay,
Broadus got to you, son. That's all I'm saying. Shouts to Ellie Broadus, of course.
Hey, listen, the first time I give the Browns a shout out in the show, right? All right, Kyle, who are you having your top 5?
No, and listen, I get a little dramatic for the sake of the show here, but no, I'm glad you agree with me on Josh Jacobs. I don't get that. I don't get Le'Veon at 10, but for the top 5, I think you and I are on the same page with McCaffrey. That's a quality back, and I'm sure it hurts you to have to admit that, and I give you praise for maintaining. I don't know why Saquon wouldn't be 2, frankly. I mean, to put him anywhere else doesn't make sense for me. You know, I'm looking for guys that can be threatening in more than one way, and Derrick Henry isn't that guy. Sure, he's still top 5. Let's not get stupid. But 2, nah, I can't do that.
Okay.
But I think Dalvin Cook being behind both Kamara and I shouldn't say and Elliott. Dalvin Cook being behind Alvin Kamara doesn't make any sense to me. I personally would have him ahead of Henry, but that would basically be about where I'd have him is about, let's say, 4th, right? Ezekiel Elliott, he could be 3rd or 4th because I know he's the entire franchise. Same argument can be made for Henry, but Kamara is not type 5. I'd put him at 6. So I guess that basically means I got Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley. We'll go ahead and put Zeke 3, Cook 4, Henry 5, and I could give or take Zeke. Of course, I know. Danny made the point earlier that he got hurt, and you know, you haven't really seen him at his own thing. And how much is he involved really in the passing game? You know, you may be able to take him down a few notches. How good an offensive line he's had has also supported him. There's plenty case for him to be down to 5th himself. I think you could really move around those 3 guys, Dalvin Cook, Ezekiel Elliott, and Derrick Henry in a 3, 4, and 5 spot in any order, and I ain't even mad at you. But Saquon and McCaffrey make sense as the top 2 because of their dual threatening. I could even see a good argument made for Dalvin Cook to be top 3 himself. You got to remember, you need versatility in this NFL to make a difference, to be this top guy. I don't get Joe Mixon and Nick Chubb ahead of Le'Veon Bell. Granted, like Le'Veon Bell is 185 years old, but I think we're still punishing him for missing time from holding out the entire season like he did. I don't know. It could be that. But, yeah. I think you can see where I'm coming from, Danny, when like my 3, 4, and 5 could definitely be moved around, and I'm not even angry about it.
The guy left off the list that's really irritating to me is Aaron Jones of the Green Bay Packers. Talk about a guy who was disrespected. The guy had 16 touchdowns last year.
Yes.
16. That's more than Bell, Jacobs, and Mixon all combined.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he had just as many yards as Jacobs, more yards than Bell, more yards than Mixon. Like I said, when you score 16 touchdowns in the season, that's
and by the way, being able to do that with a team that features Aaron Rodgers as a quarterback, that's saying something.
Yes, exactly. One of the main and guess what? If Aaron Jones would have got the football in the NFC Championship game, they might have actually done better.
Hey, listen, I'm a Kenyon Drake guy too, Bobby, but here's my thing.
It's Kenyon Drake.
Kenyon Drake is a great versatile back. I mean, listen, the fact that the Dolphins traded him really irked me. I wrote an article about it, and I got a bunch of dumb moron Dolphin fan trolls who have no idea what football is. So how would they spot a guy who could pass block better than his size? That's one thing. And oh, by the way, they were too dumb to realize he was the top 3 in receiving yards at the time he left the franchise. Don't get me started. Oh, wait, I think I already am. But the problem with Kenyon Drake is we really don't know yet. He did great in Arizona. Don't get it twisted. Could he be top 10? He's definitely top 15.
I would say top 15. And there's 2 other running backs I thought should have been on the list. Where's Chris Carson of the Seattle Seahawks?
Yes.
Standing behind Russell Wilson because the only reason why he's there is because they can't pass. Chris Carson's inability to produce is the reason why Russell Wilson should have been the MVP both in 2017, or excuse me, 28. No, I was right. 2017 and 2019. That's right.
Well, hold on. Chris Carson had 1,233 yards last year on the ground before he got hurt.
And
he finished 4th in the league in rushing.
Cute. In a team that doesn't throw the football worth a crap because their receivers are awful.
Well, you can't blame the running guy. The guy getting 1,200 yards on the ground.
Right. But what I'm trying to tell you is numbers lie, and that's one. Go ahead, Bobby. I'm sorry.
Bobby, who's your top 5?
I don't have a top 5 per se just yet, but what about the guy? I mean, I hate to say this, they're my arch rivals. What about Miles Sanders from the Eagles? He had a great year last year. Le'Veon Bell does not belong on this list. Le'Veon Bell is a has-been.
Who?
Le'Veon
Bell does not belong on this list.
No, I would say Miles Sanders. As far as top 10 running backs, not even close. Miles
Sanders is in the committee. There's too many committee backs. Not that that's your fault, Bobby. If you put him in a top 10 list, I'm not going to hold you.
He wouldn't be in mine. I'd say maybe maybe the high part of the top 15, but like when I say like 12, 13, 14, but he's not top 10 because if you're missing guys like Aaron Jones off this list, that's 1. Chris Carson is 2. I have in front of him. You're looking at, I would even say Todd Gurley in Atlanta. You're looking at Melvin Gordon or Phillip Lindsay in Denver. That's 2, whatever those 2 other running back is going to be out there. I'll even say Austin Eckler of the Chargers.
All those belong on there ahead of Josh Jacobs, obviously. I think what you've done successfully with Gordon, Eckler, and Jones is replace.
Don't forget Phil Lindsay. Phil Lindsay has been great the last 2 years.
True. I think you've replaced Jacobs, Bell, and Chubb, frankly.
Hey, you know what? Another running back, and Bobby, this is your guy, James Conner of Pittsburgh.
When healthy, yeah. Had one great year, one. Real quick, my top 5.
Mm-hmm.
I would put. Hold on, I would put CMC, Barkley, Elliott, Kamara, and Dalvin Cook.
Okay. So Derrick Henry, who single-handedly won games in the playoffs, and I don't mean against Ryan Tannehill, a man who single-handedly ended Tom Brady's run. Whoosh. My main man Cortland Griffin says Sanders is great, really showed his value. We got the bulk of the carries at the touch of the backfield. Yes, because the Eagles have no running backs. I get it. Miles Sanders is solid, but Miles Sanders is not. I'm still taking Josh Jacobs over Miles Sanders. I mean, like I said, Miles Sanders is the 3rd best running back in that division.
I'm taking Kenyon Drake ahead of Miles Sanders. I'm saying.
I'm definitely taking a lot of people, Josh Jacobs. All right. So, Kyle, it is time for the favorite part of the show. And I don't mean bashing the Carolina Panthers. All right.
You mean your favorite part? Hey, maybe catching me off guard is the favorite part of your show. I don't know, man. I don't know.
It's time for our favorite part of the show, our good old segment, which we call, yes, we did switch sides, by the way. It's the second half of the game, we switched sides. All right. So we're going to our favorite part of the show, one of my favorite segments of the show, good old Mount Rushmore. And now, Kyle, Cortland popped in. Derrick Henry should be ahead of Kamara and Elliott. I had Derrick Henry at number 2. All right, I had Henry behind CMC because no running back in the league, and it makes me.
Hey, listen, you do your thing. I'll tell Cortland he's right too, just so you don't think it's something where you actually. There's no bias you would have there. We both agree with you, and neither of us have bias.
Christian McCaffrey, all funny jokes aside, Christian McCaffrey is the most versatile back in the entire league.
Yeah.
There's nobody better than Christian McCaffrey when it comes to that. And he is the ultimate weapon at running back. I mean, you can place him anywhere. He blocks really well for his size. But Derrick Henry, like I said, to me is a human truck stick. So
better than Kamara, better than Elliott. I agree with you.
All right, Kyle. Tonight we're going to our favorite Mount Rushmore segment of the evening. And Kyle, I know the last couple weeks we've talked about all different types of food and
Mhm.
drinks.
Mhm.
So tonight we're going to go someplace different. So tonight's Mount Rushmore, Kyle, we're going to do the Mount Rushmore of movie series. When I
Movie
say
series. Now
movie
you're define that, yeah.
yes, so movie series are franchises that have multiple movies involved in them. So like a part one, a part two, a part three.
Okay.
So Kyle, I know you're a pop culture guy. This should be fun for you. What is your Mount Rushmore of movie series?
So keep in mind, folks, when we're going to this, you may have a situation where one movie is really great, but the rest suck. Like, let's say Alien. You're not going to make this list. I'm sorry. Okay. You could tell me about the Xenomorph all you want. The point in the case is after the second movie, not really super great. Though I got to tell you, Alien Resurrection is great if you look at it as a comedy. I'm just saying, I have a good time with it. I mean, there's that. Anyways, enough of this stalling crap. Let's get to it. Listen, going all the way back to when I was a kid, there is a franchise that has 3 movies in it. Yes, I'm saying 3 movies in it. Indiana Jones, my friend, has 3 movies. I said 3 movies.
Not counting the rest of them?
I said 3 movies. Obviously, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is trash, but the of course, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Temple of Doom, Last Crusade, all fantastic movies. For me, if you don't have Harrison Ford up there, you're doing it wrong. Case point, hands down. And listen, all you people will be like, Kyle, what about Star Wars? Listen, the universe is fun. Generally speaking, the movies aren't great, folks. I'm sorry. Handle the truth. I can't do that. Cortland, man, listen, I hate to disagree with you for the first time here on this, but the Godfather series 1 and 2 are great. Have you seen 3? It sucks. It's literally that bad. It drags the other 2 down. Why did you do this? I'm hurting now, and I blame you for it, Cortland. No, I'm just kidding. But I got Indiana Jones certainly about franchises and multiple things. At this point, you could call it recency bias if you want, but we haven't seen a series of movies that do this in the way that this series has. And I'm pretty damn sure at the rate we're going, it may not happen in my lifetime. Of course, I'm referring to the Avengers here, right? Anybody else better have that. If you don't, you're doing it wrong. And the face that's going to be printed on there ain't Iron Man. Damn sure ain't Captain America because he sucks at his job. Fight me. It's going to be Stan Lee. Okay? Boom. Tell me I'm wrong. You can't. Moving on. Anyways, I'm in rare form, Danny Thompson.
I know. I'm waiting. I'm letting you go, Kyle. I'm letting you go. Keep on going.
Now, listen. I happen to be a really huge nerd. This is the fact of this. Speaking of things that are relatively unprecedented, this is the Godfather for things that nerds enjoy being done in a production that's unprecedented. And the movies still happen to be pretty damn good. I'm going to go Lord of the Rings here. That's right. I said it.
Okay.
The Rings. So what's it put me at?
3.
Indiana Jones, Avengers, Lord of the Rings. I got one more. Okay. Well, I wasn't ready for that part. But no, so I mean, when you think, again, when you got to remember with the franchises is consistency. It's one thing to be great. To be great again and again and again is truly an incredibly tough mark. The more I'm thinking of stuff, I keep going, oh yeah, but they did that. I'll put it this way. The answer I'm about to give may change tomorrow, depending on how it goes. But the reason why that's not true either. Ocean's 12 is terrible. Anyways, I was just about to go Ocean's 11 because Ocean's 11 and Ocean's 13 is great, but Ocean's 12 is terrible. You know what? I'll do this. There's a particular superhero that comes in with his the rest of his superhero brethren, not named Wonder Woman or Aquaman. Their movies are pretty bad. But when you think about it, when it got dark, you got the Chris Nolan Batman series, the Batman Begins, the Dark Knight, which had consideration to be Oscar nominated, by the bleeping way. And listen, the biggest thing you're griping about is the Dark Knight Rises, which I'm sorry is still a good movie. And the only big problem it had was to try to follow what was going on with Heath Ledger being the Joker. Do you want to follow that? I don't want to. Dude literally gave his life to give one of the best villain performances we've seen of all time, and you're trying to follow that. Dark Knight Rises is still a good movie. I didn't say great. I said good. So then Chris Nolan Batman, the final please put a cow on the final mask of Mount Rushmore for that one. Christian Bale is right there. Blank Man's one movie, ain't no series. Rodney, come on.
That's coming from a Kitten fan. That's exactly what I'm saying.
You beat me to it. I'm not even a Kitten hater. I was about the Kitten joke. Man, if you got jokes, make it a good joke. You're better than that, Rodney. I'm very disappointed.
Blake, man, if you don't sit down somewhere. All right, Bobby, what's your Mount Rushmore movie series?
All right, I'm going to add two that weren't mentioned. Person I like on the comedy side of things, the Hangover series. Number two, if you watch it again, is pretty funny. Because two got really maligned for not being as good. But if you watch it again, it's a pretty funny movie. And I always love the American Pie movies.
Okay. All right. And Bobby got two more because you only named two. You got two others? Because Mount Rushmore is 4 presidents, so we got 4 sets of movies here.
See, I'm a Kyle though. I love the Ocean's movies, but 12 is awful. That ruins the whole franchise right there. I'd rather say Indiana Jones and Lord of the Rings myself. Yeah, I'm a Kyle there.
All right.
Uh-oh.
All right. So here's mine.
Convinced.
Here's mine. All right. So we're gonna have to go with this. I love Toy Story. The problem was Toy Story 4 was complete. It was like watching the Panthers play a game in December. It was complete.
It wasn't that bad.
Listen, Andy was already in college. Okay, I'm not. They should have ended it after 3. Okay.
Thank you, Rodney. Finally, at least a better answer.
Yes. Now, first and foremost, what starts off everything, they didn't because they're disrespectful. Hey, listen, this is what it is.
Disrespectful. Listen, maybe I got shell shocked from Toy Story because I have a 6-year-old that all she would watch for a month straight was Toy Story 3. What about that, Precious?
The bear is pretty scary. But all right, so for me, I think the top of the series, at the top of it, is.
Stop it. Okay, ban him. Bob. No, I'm kidding.
I can't, Rodney. Let me get this out. All right. Barbie are Falcon fans. All right. Listen. All right. So,
I do call them the fraud cons because their identity can't stay consistent. Anyways.
All right. So my Mount Rushmore, we're going to start with. I had to leave Fast and Furious off because too many bad movies in that series. So for me, no particular order, The Matrix. One of my favorite. Listen, I love the Matrix movies, all of them.
Okay, I love the first one. How you can make it through the second is a whole other question.
Listen, it's one of those series that you have to go back and forth on. All right, I love watching the Matrix, and Keanu Reeves is one of my favorite. The combination of Keanu Reeves and Lawrence Fishburne together.
Oh hell yeah,
that rocks it.
Fact.
Because I chose the Matrix over John Wick. All right, so second on my list. Like I said, there's no particular order. For me, I'm going to have to go with Bad Boys. Listen, Bad Boys 1, Bad Boys 2, Bad Boys 3.
I'm not yet, so,
Bad Boys 3 was to me, was the best of the series anyway. All right. Still phenomenal movies, all well acted. The problem was they were like 20 years apart between all of them.
True.
All right. Seeing Will Smith in Bad Boys 1 looking like he's 20 and seeing Will Smith in Bad Boys 3 looking like he's 87. Martin Lawrence. It's completely, but the acting in all the movies were great too. So Bad Boys is on my list.
Let me shout out real quick to Rags too, calling out Die Hard. Listen, I'm with you for 1 and 3. Every other Die Hard movie is bad, yes, including 2. That's why I didn't pick it. But always good to see you, Rags. Thanks for checking in. But I couldn't sign off on Die Hard. Go ahead there, Danny.
All right. So outside of those two, man, this is a hard one. The Lion King. All right. Yes. Because I'm counting the new Lion King in the trilogy. All right, they redid the original one inside of this.
You can't count a damn reboot. No,
why can't I? Okay, all right, throw it out the window. All right,
you're That's the glass breaking with your damn reboots and that. No, Danny Thompson, you broke your own rules now. Come on now.
All right. So as I'm looking at it, I'm gonna actually say is as far as movies go, like this is a hard one. So
Hey, listen, you didn't throw a softball here, Danny Thompson. I leave you respect. It's okay.
so I'm looking at the Avengers. That's quintessential.
Mhm.
You know, if it's any movie that has all the way through that you can watch all the way through, it's the Avengers. All right. And fourth on my list, you might not like him. He might be a crappy superhero, but Captain America series, Winter Soldier, the whole entire Captain America series was ridiculous. Okay. You
Okay.
might not like Captain America. All right.
No,
You
no,
might
no,
think-
no. The movies are awesome, and I included them as part of the Avengers series. If you're breaking it off, and
Well,
call-
see, I know I'm counting the Avengers, all 4 Avenger movies by themselves. All of the 4, because with the Marvel movies, you can't because Iron Man has his own set of movies.
Sure.
Avengers has his own set. So I always said Captain America, Winter Soldier was the best individual movie other than Black Panther in the entire Marvel universe.
That's probably the single worst entertainment take you've ever made, but that's okay. Go ahead.
Listen, Winter Soldier was that movie.
Overrated.
Whatever. I ain't say barbershop. Listen, your argument, Rodney, was completely exposed when you said Blank Man.
Thank
See,
you.
All right. Blank Man. He had one movie. Now, mind you, it was an outstanding piece of comic. You know what? The Meet the Parents series was actually pretty good too, though. I see Kevin Drake's comic, Meet the Parents.
Was there 3? Yeah, there was 3 of them, wasn't there? Yeah. No. Okay. I mean, see, here's the thing, and this ain't Danny Thompson's fault, but the reason why I have trouble with Meet the Parents or Meet the Fockers or What the Fuck or whatever you want to call them, I know it's a comedy, but I spent way too much time because I was of the particular age where I had a girlfriend. I wasn't married yet when it first came out. I was barely out of school, that kind of thing. I was at the particular age where I find myself very eventually being in the position to Precious. Come on now, girl. Really? Anyways, being in the position to where I might find myself having to go to meet a girl's parents. Theoretically, that would be the goal in the future, right? And find myself in a similar predicament where everything, literally everything, goes wrong. So I don't even know what to do. I mean, Meet the Fockers is a fine series. I get it, but it's me. I'm the problem here. I got way too self-conscious watching that movie and not picturing myself in the particular predicament where literally every tiny thing goes wrong. Wow, Rags. Listen, I get it. I'm the problem with Winter Soldier. The elevator scene is great. One of my favorite scenes in all of the Avengers lore. But I've got to tell you, my dude Falcon jumping out of the falling building to land in a helicopter was about the stupidest damn thing I've ever seen. And that's just Winter Soldier is awful. Danny Thompson, welcome back.
Listen, power surge in my apartment. I guess all the talking about the Carolina Panthers in my apartment being in Charlotte caused my power to go out. All right, surged. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Listen, I know the Vanilla Ice Dance that movie. Not happening. But remember, I mean, I thought about the Transformers, and I realized Michael Bay is a terrible director when it comes to movies other than Bad Boys. All right, listen, he ruined Transformers for me. Okay. Let's see. Honorable mention the Spider-Man series. Yeah, from Cortland. Spider-Man was good. Yep. Now, here's the question with Spider-Man. Are we going with the newer Spider-Man movies? Or are we combining all of them together? Is the real question.
I think he's talking Sam Raimi, and the reason why it didn't make the cut for me was obviously Spider-Man 3 because it's arguably the worst movie of its decade.
No, because if you go back to the reboot of Spider-Man movies, the last 2 Spider-Man movies they've had were phenomenal.
I agree. Very good.
Yeah, but if we're counting all of Spider-Man, the last ones with Tobey Maguire, I think it was not Tobey Maguire, whoever was the other one, no thank you. All right.
Andy Garfield.
So real quick. Here's the problem with Spider-Man. Every 2 years, they're rebooting it. Right? With Spider-Man.
Yeah.
they-
Every 2 years, oh, the new Spider-Man coming out.
Well, right. He's not. They're not rebooting him yet, but I see where you're going. With the deal with Sony, Bobby. That's been a thing. That's why Andrew Garfield did it at all. You know, I understand where you're coming from there. But with Disney and Marvel, the whole Avengers thing getting involved, I think you'll see a sway coming away from that. Right. We all know that the next Spider-Man movie is going to have Tom Holland in it. Right.
Exactly.
If there's no Andrew Garfield trash, and frankly, what I think they're setting up to do might be a reboot, air quotes, Bobby, but I think what's eventually going to happen is you're going to go with Tom Holland as Peter Parker, and at some
Going
point
forward.
transition to Miles Morales. So it's not really a reboot as much as it's following the comic book lore a bit better.
Exactly. So I think for me, it's that as long as we have Tom Holland as Spider-Man, then the series is better. The Tobey Maguire Spider-Mans, I'll pass on them. Kevin Drake, what's up, Kevin? The Batman series, I'm sorry. Listen,
Batman and thinks he's going to come in here with Fast and the Furious and still hold his respect. Hey, at least he didn't say Blake, Man, and Medea, I guess.
listen. The only thing about the original Batman series was the fact that we had that movie, that version that had Arnold Schwarzenegger and all of them on Mr.
I did not say anything about Joel Schumacher. I barely clearly said Chris Nolan, sir.
I know, but I'm just saying, if you go back to the original I didn't say the Dark Knight series. I said Batman. Okay. Michael Keaton was great as Batman. All right. Then Val Kilmer, he was all right. Then you transition to George Clooney, and then I threw it out the window. Okay. I've got nothing else for you. Kyle, before we go with these shout outs.
Hey, first of all, let me throw some shouts out. Let me throw some shouts out to you, Danny Thompson, completing the move, taking care of business, and stepping up big despite the power surge. Let me throw shouts to my man, Bobby Blackjack, handling the technology with us, bringing in the list of the running backs here, something we have not done yet on the show, and it seemed to go pretty well. Holla at that. And yeah, we'll leave it at that. Good show tonight, man. I had a lot of fun. Find me on Twitter at the SOTG, Instagram as the same, the SOTG. Find me on Facebook as the student of the game. Danny.
Big shouts to our good friends at I-95 Sports, my main man, Mr. Bobby Blackjack, up in the studio and rocking everything out there. Big shouts to everybody in the chat, leaving their comments. Of course, Mount Rushmore is, of course, one of our favorite segments of the show, and also tuning in the entire time. Big shouts to all the listeners and everybody, like I said, who likes, shares, and comments the show. And yeah, yesterday, like I said, yesterday was one of those days where I did not want to have happen. As pet owners, there's one day we always fear, and it's a day that your pet passes away. And yesterday, my loyal tag team partner, if you listen to my podcast enough, you know my cat Oliver was the star of my podcast on many of mornings, because when I did my morning podcast on the NBA side, you would hear him meowing because he was hungry in the morning at 6:15 in the morning when I recorded my podcast. Oliver unfortunately had a bout with cancer, and it got to the point where he had to be put down last night. And at the age of 4, like I said, as a pet owner, if you have pets, you know how difficult it is, especially you grow a bond with them. And it's a hard one to do. And this show, is dedicated to Oliver, even though I couldn't find a cat set of movies to put in this, because there really was no cat movies. The only Disney movie they did for multiple movies was 101 Dalmatians, which was disrespectful, by the way. All right.
I love it. Now that's what you call a tribute, my man. Well done, Danny Thompson.
All right. So for myself, the student of the game, Mr. Kyle Nash, appreciate it, Rodney. That's the nicest thing you said all show, Rodney. I appreciate it. Big shouts to everybody listening to the show. Like I said, and Monday night, me and Kyle are going to have a little bit more fun. See, you go from that to this.
Hey, listen, the only reason why I was being nice is because it was a cat that died.
I get it. My down payment for Duke Energy. Listen, my Duke Energy deposit check bounced just like your secondary did.
Oh!
All right. The Lion King is a cat movie.
He's not wrong.
But I could not use it because Kyle said the remake doesn't count.
No, it doesn't. He's right. I totally came.
I tried. All right. So for myself, the student of the game, Mr. Kyle Nash, everybody in the chat room, Bobby up in New Jersey. We'll catch you guys Monday night. Hopefully we'll have some more positive news, and COVID might actually lose something in the world of sports. So for myself and Kyle, we'll catch you guys on Monday night. Have a great weekend. Stay safe. Peace.